Hi, welcome to today's lesson. And in today's lesson, we are going to be learning about how to create a date table. Now, why do you need a date table? Now, if you check here, you can see that we have a date column. And if I go to the table view on my left, I can see a table view from here. And then from this, I can see the date, right? But then we would usually need a date table. And the reason why we would need that is so that we can perform some time intelligence function. Some time intelligence functions would help us to filter our work dynamically and help us calculate some measures based on time. So if you do not have the date table on your data model, you would not be able to perform some time intelligence functions. All right, that being said, let's go ahead to create a date table. So how do you create a date table? So you come from here, from these tabs, you would come here to modeling. Under these calculations, you would see new table, this, and that's where you're going to click. So you're going to be writing a DAX expression, a DAX formula to actually create this table. And how do you do that? So the best way I do this is sometimes I cannot remember exactly the process, but I just need a guide to help me. So sometimes I go to ChatGPT and then I go ahead to type how to create a data table on Power BI. So option one is what I need. So I'm going to write a DAX function to do this. And then I'm going to go ahead to start with date table equals add columns because we need columns on our table. So I'll come back to Power BI and click and write date table equals. Now I need to add columns to my date table. So I'll press shift and enter to go to the next line. So I will start with add columns, right? So good, I'm already adding the column. So I can press shift enter to go to the next line. So what's going to be my first column? The first column is going to be the date, but how do I create my date? So I'm going to start with the calendar function. So if you come back here, you can see that you have the calendar function. So the calendar function takes two parameters, the start and the finish date. So the start and the end date of your data. So in this your date column, you have the lowest date and the highest date. That means the last date, the of course the lowest date and the highest date, the current date. So you're going to start with the sorry, you're going to start with the calendar function. So you can see that's two arguments, start and end. So but how do you know your start, the lowest date on your date table? So that's when you use the start function, start date function. Or is it start? I think is first rather, first date. So that's going to be the first date on your date table. So you have the first date and then this date column. So what's the first date on this date column? So if you have a list of range from 2023 to 2025, so your list date is going to be somewhere around 2023 with the first date in 2023. The lowest date in 2023, that's going to be your first date. So you want to have a range. Then comma, what's going to be your current date? So you have your last date. Sorry, I'm supposed to put a quote, then comma a last date. That will be the latest date on your date column, that table column that I showed you earlier. So you're going to have these columns here. Date. So it's going to pick the last date, so you close that column, then comma, then the next on your table should be your, let's say your year, be your year. So you have your year, right? So let's extract the year from the date. So you're going to have year, put a quote, that's going to be the name of the column, year, comma, then what's going to be there, the expression. You're going to have something around year. So you're going to use the year function to extract the, the date. So you just type in your date, just write your square bracket and then your date. Yeah. So it picks the date from this calendar. That's where it picks the date from. Then comma. Then next is we need the month number. That's the name of the column. Then how is it going to generate that? Just use the month function to generate the month number. So you have your month and then your square bracket, your date. Then you would need your, you can actually follow this. The next is month name, right? So your name next is month name. So that will be take the format function. So then your value there is going to be your date. Right? And then how do you want this formatted? So if you want short form of the month, just write capital 3M, like that is Jan, Feb, Ma, April, June, JUL, Dec, December. You can put it as just 3M. But I like it as, if you want it as full, you can put it 4Ms to generate January, February, March, April, May. So by I prefer the three as first three letters of the month. Um, and then I think I'll prefer the quarter as well. Let's check for the quarter. The quarter, right? So let's check the quarter. Let's spell this. Okay, there's a comma here. There's supposed to be a comma here. So after each column, you have to put a comma to go to the next line. And then quarter, and now you're going to format that. So you need Q, that will give us Q1, Q2, but it can't give us Q1. You only give us 1, 2, 3, 4. If you use, right, let's use Q. So anything that follows, so Q, whatever, if it's 1, if it's 2, if it's 3, if it's 4. So, and then we're going to concatenate that as and with format value, that's your date, comma, I want it in quarter instead. So that's what this is going to do for you. So this is going to generate format date, comma Q is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. So but once it concatenates it with Q, you're going to have Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, like that. So that way you can generate that. Shift enter, then close the bracket for this one that you open at the top. And then I guess you are done. Hit enter. You have just created yourself a date table, a date table. So if you come back here and look at your date table, look at your date table, you can see this is your normal have. This is your date table. So you can see the list date here is 1st of January 2021, and this is the year, this is the month number, this is the month name, this is the quarter, first quarter. So we can see that this is how you create a date table. Now, nevertheless, you're not done. You need to merge this, not merge, yeah, not merge, but create a relationship between the date table and your name main table, right? So this is your main table, and you have to create a relationship with this date that is here. So how do you do this? Come to the model view. If you do not understand how I'm going to create this model, I've created a video on data modeling previously, so you can do well to check about the video on data modeling. That will help you to um, understand how I'm creating this relationship. Now, so if you have your dates, all these dates here, they are unique: January 1, January 2, January 3, January 4, January 5, January 6, January 7. If you come back here to this date table, you're going to see it yourself: January 1, January 2, January 3, January 4, January 5. They are not repeating. But when you come to this date, this main table, that they are repeating here: January 1, January 1, January 1, January 2, January 2, January 2, January 3. So that means there are many dates here, and in the date table there's just single date January 1. So you need to merge all January 1 to all January 1 on the date table. So that means 3 January 1s will be connected to 1 January 1 on this table. So that's many to one relationship, right? Good. So now we have the dates here. We're going to create a relationship with that on the date table. Just click and drag it to what? Just click on the date and drop it here, right? You can see the date and the date, right? Both of them must be date table, table one. So date, and it is a one to many. So from the date table is one, then to the table, main table is many dates that are associated with one date here. So you make this relationship active. It's a single filter direction, and then you save. Good. So it has created a relationship between this table now. This asterisk means many, and this one means one. So they're just one single date, one general one. Many general ones are here that connect with it. So this is how you create a relationship with it. If you do not create a relationship with this, your time intelligence function would not work.